What make a man brave a blizzard, kill in cold blood? I'm sure I don't know. You'd be surprised what a man would do.
Quentin, I'm Darcy from Sin Media. It's a pleasure to meet you today.
Hey, Darcy, good to meet you.
So I saw the film recently in the old 70mm format, particularly with the old style film projectors. And as soon as it was kind of announced that you were doing it that way, I thought it's perfect because I love the old Quentin Western. So what made your decision to kind of present it in that format?
It was funny because I think at the very, very initially, it was more of a personal selfish point on my part, because with digital projection taking over the way it has, I mean, there was never a question that I would shoot it on film, whether that be 35mm or what. But with digital projection taking over, I did think that, well, if I shoot it on 70, that's a more expensive format. So if the studio is going to actually pay to shoot it on 70, then they're going to make a valiant effort to have it shown in 70, at least to some degree or another, at least in some sort of a token way, but that is meaningful. Not everywhere, but to some degree. And so that kind of was my thinking initially, like when I wrote on the first page, okay, filmed in Gloria 70mm and blah, 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 blah. All right, so that was maybe the first part. However, as I explored it, I'd frankly been wanting to shoot a movie or at least blow up a print from 35 to 70 like my whole career, and now I finally had a chance to do it. But I did like the idea that it did emphasize the visual aspects of the movie, really taking advantage of the weather and the landscapes. But what ended up actually, and the visual qualities of it, like i.e. the breath and everything that you see in the film. But what ended up revealing itself to me in doing it, and I mean, this I also knew as well, but I learned it even more from doing it, is I've always felt that while most people think of like using 70 to shoot mountain ranges or the pyramids or travelogue kind of things, I've always felt that the real big scope formats can bring you a deeper sense of intimacy if used the right way, and that I think that goes without saying when it comes to the close-ups that we get in the film. I mean, I've shot a lot of close-ups of Sam Jackson, but there was never quite as evocative as these ones here. But especially in this movie, once we get into minis, and once we get into the stagecoach stopover that they're trapped in from the blizzard for the rest of the movie, is there's an aspect of paranoia going on with all the characters. And to one degree or another, they're almost like a chess game is going on, and they're the pieces, and Minis itself is the chessboard. And consequently, in every shot inside of there, there's always two plays going on at the same time. There's the foreground play, which is whatever the characters are dealing with dramatically at that given moment. But then there's the background play. Where are the other characters in relation to them, especially since you can't trust anybody? There's always like Joe Gage in that little corner, or Daisy and John Ruth over by the bar, and it's always very important that and when we flip it around, same thing, and it's always very important that you know where all the characters are in relation to each other. Nobody, unless I don't want you to, in particularly one moment in particular, so because you're not supposed to be able to trust anybody, and everybody can see everybody else in it, and that was important that you, the viewer, be able to keep tabs on everybody as well.
So Quentin, you've directed such great blockbuster movies from Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and now, of course, The Hateful Eight. I mean, your filmography list can just go on and on. Do you sit back and kind of rate where your films are at? Like, where would The Hateful Eight sit with you as one of your favourite films that you've done?
Well, it is absolutely one of my favorite movies that I've done, but that doesn't mean anything coming from me because I love them all. And like, now least of all would be the time for me to decide where it sits in the stack, the pecking order, I guess. I think that's more for me to retire and like start thinking about like maybe 3 or 5 years after that retirement to actually really come up with exactly where it sits. I actually believe, though, that like 20 years from now, I think Hateful Eight will probably be considered in my top 4 of my filmography. Where I feel about it right now is I actually feel it's my best script. I feel it's the best script I've ever written, and in its own way, and that this is not making it a better movie than another movie per se. I mean, if you like Kill Bill, you like Kill Bill. If you like Pulp Fiction, you like Pulp Fiction. But in its own way, I actually think this is probably my best directing of my own material or handling of my own material. But I actually think a lot of that just has to do with me just becoming a better director over the course of time.
The way you've presented The Hateful Eight is a way that I really love, not only on the 70mm and using the old style film projection, but I'm a really big theatre guy as well. And The Hateful Eight lends itself to kind of becoming like a bit of a play with the overture, the acts, and the intermission. Would you ever consider turning this into a live play in the future? And would you bring it to Australia?
Oh, yeah. I do intend to turn it into a play. In fact, as soon as all this is said and done, I'm looking forward to sitting down and writing the play version of it. The question will be, when do I do it? All right. Am I wrung out from the material, having spent almost 2 years on it now, or would I write it and then if I'm not burnt out from it, if I still have more juice for it, then maybe I would do it this next summer. We'll see. All right, or maybe I'll write it and put it away and then do it 3 years from now when I'm a little fresher on the idea. And I'd love to take it to Australia. Hopefully it'll be so popular that it'll go on a tour and play everywhere. Part of the thing about it, doing it though, part of the reason to do it to me would be to do it completely straight. I mean, like, for instance, if I did it as a play, we would never leave Minnie's Haberdashery. And people have been saying, yeah, but you could do this, you could film this certain thing and then mess around with the stage. She goes, well, now I'm making a movie. Now I'm making some multimedia thing. I don't need to do that. I've already done it as a movie. Either it can hold itself in that one room as a theater piece or it can't. And I think it could.
An absolute pleasure, Quentin. Thank you very much.
When you get to hell, tell them Daisy sent you.
You gon' die now!